Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Now, as you may know, we're about 1 week away from the midterm elections, Obama's midterm. We're going to have live coverage next Monday night from 7 to 10 p.m. That's pre-election night coverage. We're also going to have live coverage the night of the election next Tuesday from 6 to 10 p.m. Central Time. That's going to be coverage, results, and analysis. Now, we're not going to just cover the horse race aspect of this or whether or not the Republicans are going to take over the Senate. There are some real issues involved in this that are going to transcend which party is in power, and it's not a real clear issue as to where the liberty issue is on the Republicans and the Democrats. We're going to lose on some issues. We may gain on some issues. A good example of this is the back and forth that's going on right now in the Senate over the CIA torture memos. Now, of course, Diane Feinstein is no friend of liberty, but she has been fighting the CIA primarily because she's angry that they spied on her staff. So now there's this back and forth, this blame game as to why they haven't released this torture report. Going on about 1 year, they've been working on this. Now, The Intercept reports that a frustrated CIA is blaming the torture report delays on senators who want it to be intelligible. In other words, we would just give you the report filled with black bars, redacting everything on there. But, you know, those senators actually want to have people see what actually went on. That's the fight that's going on. This is what the CIA said. This is the way they spun it. The suggestion that the CIA is delaying or obstructing the negotiations over redactions is patently false. The CIA has been doing all it can to bring the process to a conclusion as expeditiously as possible in order that we can fully focus on the many threats that are facing our nation. It is the committee's objections to the redactions that have delayed the process, okay? But it's those redactions which have basically taken all the content out that they're fighting. And then they said the CIA, on behalf of the administration, provided us, this is the Senate's giving their side of it, they said they provided us on August 1st with a version of the committee's executive summary that was redacted to the point that Senator Feinstein determined it was unreleasable in its current form. And in the ensuing weeks and months, we've debated the issue and sought further unredactions. There we go. That's where we live. So that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get the black bars taken off so we can see what's actually going on. Now, if the Senate takes control, if the Republicans take control of the Senate, rather, Diane Feinstein will no longer be in charge of that committee. Who's going to replace her? Well, she'll be replaced by the senator from North Carolina, Senator Burr. He has no problem with the CIA. He has no problem with the snooping of the CIA, and presumably he has no problem with the torture that the CIA performed under the Republican administration. He would like to see that just put out there. They say, this is a report from Huffington Post, they say the Republican who may chair the Senate Intelligence Committee if his party wins control of the chamber in next month's election isn't too worried about CIA snooping on Congress or about the agency's combative director. And they say, although relations between the CIA Director John Brennan and Diane Feinstein, chair right now of the Senate Intelligence Committee, have been chilly, he says, Diane, this is Mr. Burr speaking, Diane may have some problems with it, but I think we've gotten a full account of what's happened. Listen, I think there have been some mistakes, but I don't think it's the first director that's made mistakes. There you go. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, say no more. Yeah, mistakes have been made. It's not really a problem that the CIA punitively spies on Senate members who are investigating them. This is why we had the church hearings back in the 1970s. Of course, it didn't resolve anything. Now, on the other hand, if the Republicans take over the majority of the Senate, there is some hope that something might be done about Obamacare. Maybe. We haven't seen the Republican majority in the House do anything about that. They have the purse strings. They could cut off the funding of Obamacare in the sense the 16,000 agents that are going to be hammering people who don't comply. They could make those kind of alterations. They could make alterations to the law itself, but of course they won't. Not even, I believe, if they have the Senate there. Nevertheless, this is going to be a referendum on Obama. Now, we saw back in August, the Huffington Post was talking about how finally they had a senator who was going to be in a tough re-election fight betting on Obamacare. This was back August 20th of this year. And they say this is the race that's going on in Arkansas. They said many of the senators who have supported Obamacare have been reluctant to go all in on the decision that they made, especially among those who voted for the law and have since found themselves in a tough race. Today, however, we have a change. Senator Mark Pryor, Democrat of Arkansas, currently in a tough re-election race against his Republican opponent, Tom Cotton, is up with a new ad in which he heralds his yes vote on the Affordable Health Care Act. That's the euphemism for Obamacare. Now, we go 2 months later, and this is what we see. Who says Obamacare isn't a major factor in the midterms? This is from the Washington Examiner, and they say some Democrats and their advocates in the press believe that Obamacare, a year into its implementation, is no longer a factor in midterm elections, but no one has told that to Republican candidates or to Republican voters. And so they mention this very race where the Republican has now pulled ahead of the Democrat. Looks like he is going to defeat him in that close race. And they mentioned two more. They mentioned the race in Louisiana, where Democrat Senator Mary Landrieu is being challenged by an incumbent. The Republican challenger is running an ad that features Landrieu voters who say that her support of the health care law turned them away from Democrats. One of them says, Senator Landrieu, I voted for you before, but when you voted for Obamacare, I knew I had made a mistake. Yeah, we made a mistake when we went with Obama and Obamacare. Can we do something to undo that mistake? Will it be undone if Republicans take control of the Senate, or will they just go along with this government takeover of health care? It was Mitt Romney who came up with essentially the same plan that Obama eventually implemented. So we're not really sure that we're going to have a choice there. Nevertheless, this election is going to revolve around issues, and it's not going to be a straight up or down on the liberty issues. We're going to analyze that for you in the election coverage of next week. Now, coming up next, we have a candidate who is not going to have us make a choice as to whether or not we want to have freedom in one area and lose that freedom in another area. It's the Libertarian candidate for governor in Florida. He's currently polling very strong in the polls there, but of course, he's been kept out of the debates. We're going to talk to him about that and about his issues. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
DNA Force.
When cells become toxic, they die early and aging sets in.
DNA Force.
No one has put together a formula that focuses directly on brain health, nerve growth factors, and optimizing your cellular energy at the same time. Just one of the key compounds, BioPQQ, is backed by major clinical studies.
DNA Force.
We now have the synergistic solution. Secure your DNA Force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139.
DNA Force.